Okay, so this is a video called "The Hard Truth About Mental Health." I watched like a little bit of this, like maybe 30 seconds of it. And it's like, okay, I've got to fucking react to it. So I'm going to react to it now.
You are not awfully anxious or completely calm, but are typically somewhere in between and also always something else, say tired. All mental states exist on a spectrum, and the same is true for
That's kind of true, I guess.
autism spectrum disorder, borderline personality disorder. You may
No, it does not exist. Maybe on the autism spectrum, but if you're borderline personality disorder, okay, we don't need any fucking doctors or psychiatrists, whatever. Someone with borderline personality disorder is not on a spectrum. They kind of either are or they're not. That's a fucking fact.
depressive disorder.
That's a fact from my personal experience, and the doctors, the scientists can say whatever the fuck they want. Someone on a borderline personality disorder, they are a certain way. They just are. It's not like they're halfway there. They're fully that way.
Or any other mental state. There are millions of variations within each, and most are overlapping with others. This overlap is known as comorbidity.
No, this comorbidity shit is an overlap because there's a problem with the whatever DCIM or whatever the fuck their book is that they like diagnose people with. The book has all of these different personality disorders and shit, and it can whatever, and they can be comorbidities. That's just because their fucking system is shit. Like normal people without any education can identify people in a certain way as being this way. With their diagnostic kind of bullshit thing, yeah, there's going to be people that go into different categories, but these are categories that they invented, and actually, like normal people without any education in psychiatry or psychology can identify these people as fucked up.
It gets more complicated. Unlike a broken leg, your mental health, or the lack thereof, has highly complex origins. Schizophrenia, for example, tends to run in families and might be mostly genetic. Anxiety.
Like schizophrenia is one of these things that's actually, I mean, I don't know where it comes from, but it's a real thing. It's like if someone's a schizo, they're a fucking schizo, right? And I have the unending empathy and sorrow for them, for what they have to go through.
Can be the result of genetic traits, prenatal stress, childhood trauma, and random events. Most mental disorders also lack clear biomarkers. Biological factors are either too complex to identify or too expensive to analyze. This ambiguity is the very reason doctors came together to describe and classify all the atypical behavior.
No, let's be honest. Like, if doctors are coming together, it's because there's research that's being funded to look into it, and anyone that knows anything about PhDs or any kind of research will understand that you need funding. The people that fund this kind of shit will be the kind of people that can maybe sell some drugs.
Behaviors they saw. The creation of common labels was necessary for both psychiatrists and patients to understand what was going on and talk to each other. And so, whenever psychiatrists in the United States and Australia see someone, they follow the...
You know, like, for a while in my life, I was like kind of really into, what do you call it, like kind of military shit, you know. And so I ended up like reading some books about like MK Ultra and stuff. And basically, all MK Ultra really was just like the field of psychiatry kind of being weaponized.
Guidelines of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual to assess and categorize their patients. The DSM is sold by the American Psychiatric Association. Doctors in the rest of the world also use the International Classification of Diseases to diagnose mental problems. The ICD is published by the World Health Organization. Both publications greatly influence what...
I'm sorry, but like I might get my channel deleted here, but like anything with the World Health Organization when we're in 2024, most people, I think, will understand that they massively dropped the ball with COVID, and in fact, way worse than dropped the ball, completely fucked up a lot of people's lives for no reason.
Clinicians and government officials consider normal or abnormal behavior. For example, according to a previous version of the DSM, homosexuality was known as a sociopathic personality disturbance. After an update of the book in 19...
So this proves that it's kind of always political, especially now, like medicine as and psychiatry is being politicized. But okay, so here we're talking like being gay was seen as a mental illness or whatever. Now it's not. So what's going to be a mental illness in the future, and what's not? I'm not saying that being gay is a mental illness, but they used to say it, and now they don't. So how can we believe anything these scientists say? They're fucking scientists. They don't know fucking anything, man.
74, doctors could no longer officially consider it a mental disorder, even if they wanted to. Politicians all around the world follow the book's guidelines to understand who is mentally sick, who is not, and whether public health insurance that we pay with our taxes should cover treatments that include medication or pay for a therapy that doesn't involve drugs.
See, like I'm old enough to remember when like there would be like crazy people. I'm from England, but it'd be like crazy people living in society. Like, they were just fucking nuts people. You knew they were crazy. They never harmed anybody. I'm talking as a child. It's like, I'll be careful when you go past this guy's house. He's fucking insane. But like, it's almost like we kind of had a little bit of like letting insane people just be part of society.
And in the hands of doctors, the contents of these two manuals can determine whether a girl is considered healthy, even if she is not, or is prescribed mood stabilizers, even if she might not need them, which may happen considering that one in...
Yeah, like remember back in the day they had hysteria, and hysteria kind of meant like women being crazy. No offense, but a lot of women are kind of can be crazy, but they're just if a woman had a mental breakdown, they just take a fucking womb out. You know what I mean? Problem solved, they thought. And my point is, like, we look back on that kind of shit, hysteria, give someone a hysterectomy or whatever, where you pull the womb out. That's insane. Maybe what we're doing now to people who we deem as mentally ill, in 30 years they'll look back and go, that was fucking insane.
10 teenage girls in the United States today take antidepressants. Now the lack of clear
I think like antidepressants, like in England, I'm kind of pulling this out of my arse, but it's something like 25% or 30% of people of a working age are on antidepressants.
Logical evidence is the reason why neither the DSM nor the ICD have introduced biological or genetic factors into their classifications. Psychiatrists hence mostly rely on what they see with their own eyes, subjective self-reports, multiple choice tests, and what family members tell them.
No, pretty much in England. If you go to a doctor and you just say, I'm a bit depressed, or whatever, I'm a bit anxious, they won't do anything. They won't like fucking check your body, do a blood test or something. They'll just chuck you on fucking Prozac. And I've seen that with a lot of people that I know. And you know the thing about Prozac? Like, let's just say like you go on Prozac because you're anxious and depressed. Do you know what happens when you come off Prozac? It's like 10 times worse. Depression and anxiety.
The combination of comorbidities and the lack of clear evidence is a problem. There is no reliability. It is highly unlikely that even the best doctors could...
Thing is, like, the whole, like, mental health, like, psychiatry, psychology, whatever, it's not a science, it's just fucking a dark art. It's absolutely, in my opinion... what's the word? Quack, like a quack doctor or something like that. Is that a word? Quack? Like, yeah, a quack isn't like not a real doctor, right? This whole entire scene with mental health and therapy and psychiatry is just complete bullshit.
Reliably identify one specific disorder among hundreds of options that tend to overlap, especially if they try to treat children who themselves have no idea what's going on. Consider autistic people who often start speaking at a later age and like routines because they need predictability.
Like, I know like there's this whole like idea about like autism comes from this and that. But I've actually known some people that work with autistic people, and they've just said, like, over the last 30 years, it's just gone insane. Like, so whatever is happening, could it be that more people are being diagnosed as it or whatever? But I'm talking about people that work with, like, severe or severely autistic people. Over 30 years, are just saying it's fucking increasing. Anecdotal, maybe.
And kids with ADHD who have no problem speaking and crave excitement and novelty. A boy born with both could be...
You know, like ADHD, like, as far as I know in America, they give them like Ritalin and something else. I'll tell you, man, like, I've had some Ritalin. It's way better than Coke. Like, way better.
Bored by routines, but overwhelmed by novelty. And since he lacks the language to explain his feelings, he might be misdiagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. On top of this already highly complex situation are 4 other challenges. Criteria change over time. Normal mental states may get pathologized. The list of disorders gets longer and longer.
Yeah, maybe normal mental states can be pathologized, and also maybe normal mental ways of being can be pathologized, and then you can sell them fucking drugs.
And the research on many conditions might have started off biased. The 5th and latest edition of the DSM was published in 2013. It contains 297 disorders, 10 times the number of diagnoses that the project started with in 1917. Here are 5 examples of what changed and what didn't. The criteria for autism, eating disorders, and depression were broadened. The new definitions, together with an increase in public awareness and lifestyle changes, could contribute to what's known as diagnostic inflation. Data from health insurance claims of 41 million Americans shows that the diagnosis of major depression in 12 to 17-year-olds increased from 1.6% in 2013 to 2.6% in 2016.
So I thought this video was going to go a different way. It seems like it's kind of agreeing with me.
Which means it became 63% more common. The update combined autism and Asperger's under what's now known as Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD. The change made the diagnosis for many more likely, but about 1 in 3 who would have been diagnosed with Asperger's in 2013 don't fall into the autism spectrum after the change. And yet today, 1 in 36 children in the US get diagnosed with ASD, up 400% from 20 years ago. Grief after losing a loved one can, since the update, be diagnosed.
I had this fucking argument with a doctor that I knew, and I was like, I was talking about the over prescription of SSRIs, which is like Prozac and those kind of things, Lustral and shit, in England. And we're having a few drinks and shit, and I just was like, okay. But in England, when someone's like mother dies and they have grief, they'll give them fucking Lustral, they'll give them Prozac, they'll give them SSRIs. And it's like, well, yeah, but like that can help somebody go through survive the grieving process or something. And I was like, no, like maybe they just need to fucking grieve, and if you just give them the drugs, you're just gonna get them hooked on fucking SSRIs. But he really believed, as a doctor, he's a nice guy, but he really believed that you need to help people through the process of grief if they can't handle it. And I was like, no, maybe just people have to go through it,
Diagnosed as major depression disorder and be treated with medication. This pathologization of a normal state is highly controversial. Perhaps we should be deeply saddened if we lose someone we love. Disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, which many parents know as temper tantrums or angry outbursts, was added.
Fuck, man. I was kind of going to react to this video because I was going to kind of go against everything they said, but it seems like they're kind of saying everything that I think. This is a terrible reaction.
Psychiatrists who identify it in young children may now prescribe mood stabilizers, which in some cases can be the right treatment, but may have negative consequences, especially for those who don't need them. What did not change? ADHD, a condition that was studied originally only in boys, continues to include diagnostic criteria that do not suit girls or adults, both of whom may show different symptoms of it. As a result, women are often treated for conditions they do not have, such as bipolar disorder. At best, that's just ineffective. While many doctors relying on the new DSM do help a lot of real patients with real problems, we have to ask who else benefits. Or, as the investor Charlie Munger liked to say, show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome.
Okay, well, I kind of feel really bad because I was kind of going to watch this video and react to it in a negative way, but it seems like this video is actually kind of like propaganda for actually my position.
The DSM is written, published and sold by the American Psychiatric Association, a non-profit organization whose 30,000 plus members are the very doctors who use the book in their daily practice. Since the middle of the last century, doctors and pharmaceuticals have been working together to deliver treatments for people suffering from schizophrenia, depression, and other mental health issues. After all, both psychiatrists and businessmen wanted to cure the same patients, albeit perhaps for different reasons. After some success and the development of the first antidepressant in the 1950s, the relationship between...
Yeah, no shit, look it up. I think it's something like 20 to 30% of adults or something. I might be wrong. in England are on antidepressants, which could be just a reflection of the fact that life is just shit in England.
Between the two grew ever more cozy, leading to potential conflicts of interest.
I actually had a friend that well, I've actually saved a few friends from going on antidepressants. Um, I talked to them because I know a bit about this shit, and I helped them not go down that route. But I've had two friends that did go down that route. One of them was he went onto them, and he was kind of okay, but the second one was a woman, and there was something when she was on them. There was just something not right, like a little bit, like being drugged. It's like she's always a little bit drugged.
In the 1970s, some drug makers funded a political action committee to help the psychiatrists lobby the US Congress to pass laws that ensure more public funds are spent on the awareness, research, and treatment of mental health. Pharmaceuticals also began sponsoring ghostwriting.
People spend a lot of time talking about mental health, and at the moment, most of us, I guess, in the world, most of us have some kind of, we can say we're mentally unwell in some way, and maybe we need to just change that whole attitude. Not like treating the symptom, changing actually how we live and how we think. Like it is possible, perhaps, that some of these issues, I'm not talking about schizophrenia, things like borderline personality disorder, that's their fact. They're stuck in that unless they really work hard. But things like a depression and anxiety, I think, can often just be kind of like your soul telling you you're not living the life that is good. It's like almost like maybe your job as an adult is to protect your inner child and look after it, but also give it a good life. And if you're just kind of having a shit life, then things like depression and anxiety, I believe, can just be like a hardcore message to change something, like in your real life. Not take medication. Change something in your real life.
Services and media training workshops, turning psychiatrists into renowned authors and speakers at the top medical schools around the world. In 2008, a congressional investigation revealed that around 30% of the non-profit's annual budget was funded by the industry, primarily through advertising and medical education, which often claim that mental problems are the result of chemical imbalances one can fix with pills. Even the content.
Yeah, like mental problems could be a chemical imbalance, but maybe the chemical imbalance comes because of the shit lifestyle. Like, I was watching some shit about gorillas recently, and they had some problems when they first started to put gorillas in zoos and stuff, because gorillas needed to be social. So a lot of gorillas would die, and it kind of, part of it was because they were putting them in solitary confinement, or not like allowing them to kind of have the group social dynamic that they needed, and it just made them, I don't know, I guess depressed, have weakened immune systems and stuff. And what it reminded me of is humans, the way we are now. We live very, most of us live a little bit more isolated lives than we used to, and we don't maybe have the community that we used to have. Just like those gorillas that they took out the fucking jungle, stuck in a zoo, and these guys were like, "Fuck this!" Like, clocked out, got ill, got ill, died. And that's the thing. Like, this whole like psychiatry shit is about like maybe treating the symptom, but not the fucking problem. Like, what is causing people to get depressed? You know, what's causing people to have these mental illnesses more and more? It's not just like, well, here they're having these mental illnesses. Let's give them some fucking drugs or something. It's like, what's causing it? And I think most of us know what's causing it.
Of the DSM, the very book used to diagnose and treat mental illnesses, appears to have been directly influenced by doctors who not only cared for sick patients, but also had incentives aligned with the businessmen who sell drugs. A widely cited paper revealed that 69% of the doctors overseeing the DSM-5 had ties to pharmaceutical companies. In the subcommittee,
Well, I was hoping like to uh, debunk this video, but this kind of video is going along with what I was going to kind of say against it. But I think it's still missing something. Like, the real problem is the way we live now. We don't have like communities. We don't have enough money to have like the mum stay at home and look after the kids and raise them. People don't even have enough money to have a few kids. They're like, oh shit, I can't afford to have any kids until like they're in their fucking late 30s. Whereas maybe in the olden days it was like, fuck, I'm like fucking 19. I'll get married. I'll just pump out loads of kids. My wife's gonna stay at home. I'm gonna work in a factory or wherever. I'm gonna make enough money, and I'm gonna have like ties with my community. Like, people aren't moving around as much. Uh, you'll know the person in the shop since you were a kid. You'll go and get your car fixed. You know him. He knows you. You got like a community, and maybe that kind of shit. Uh, Big families. That kind of shit might actually be good for human mental health.
for sleep-wake disorders, a condition for which medication is the first-line treatment, 100% had financial ties to big drug makers. The global market for sleep disorder treatments is a $20 billion industry and growing fast. But you tell us, since for certain conditions drugs are critical, is there a way to curb conflicts of interest between doctors and businessmen with...
No, this is all like an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff kind of thing. The real thing is like the gorillas in the zoo. Humans need social interaction. They need a community to feel good mentally, and all of that kind of shit is completely gone. And that's, I think, why there's an explosion in mental illness. And I think also part of it is just like people are identifying like their natural reaction to the difficult situation, which is civilization now, as a mental illness, when it's not. It's just, that's how any human animal would react, given the kind of lack of community and isolation that comes with the modern age.
without killing expensive medical research projects that might bring us better treatments? And how do you feel about fixed guidelines used to treat conditions that are extremely complex to assess? Please.
Like, I feel really bad for like reacting to what this is like an AI video, and I fucking hate AI videos. This is an AI video. It came up in my recommended, uh, but it just, yeah, like I guess the AI recognized that I might be pissed off with it.
Share your thoughts in the comments below.
My thoughts are pretty much that the problem isn't that there's some kind of explosion in mental health. The problem isn't that it's being monetized and incentivized to say, you know, you've got some disorder, here's a drug. I think when it really comes down to it, it's just the problem that the society that we all live in the West, at least, is just not actually good for us on a mental level. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, we're hardwired in a way, perhaps from tribal times, where unless you're an absolute psychopath, you need social interactions, you need community, you need those kind of things that like are more and more rare in people's lives now.
We relentlessly researched education for the past decade, read plenty of peer-reviewed papers, visited all sorts of schools, created hundreds of videos on the topic, and even...
Fucking AI shit, man.